Hi, and welcome to the latest in the series of WATCHPRO Originals. I'm Alex Douglas, Associate Publisher across the platform. And today I'm joined by Cesare Cerrito from Meccaniche Veloci. Welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
How are you? Keeping well, I hope?
Very well, thank you. Very well. It's a pleasure for me to be with you today.
Yeah, and you. Thanks for joining us. So, how are things? How's business?
Yeah, I mean, pretty good. Let's say that we've been through better moments. The pandemic is still, putting the industry in, uncertainty. But at the end, we've been, used to that. So dealing with uncertainty, and we'll see how it goes, especially at the beginning of the next year.
And you mentioned COVID there. How has COVID directly impacted any plans you had? Has anything had to be scaled back or changed? Or
yeah, let's say we have two types of impact. One, of course, it's obviously on the sales side. Having some of our main market experience the lockdown and the closing of shops, we've been going slower than before. And on the other side, we have an impact of course, on the production as well, because factories and production has been slowed down. Some factories still, yes, open, but they working in a at a reduced speed. And to answer you, the final impact is directly affecting the development of new products. So everything is basically going slower than before.
So did you have new products planned to come out around this time, ready for the festive period, or have they now been pushed back? Or
yeah, let's say it's not planned to be on the market for the next month. We plan to introduce the new products. Originally, that was planned to be for the exhibition, for the whatever that was meant to be. That every day is changing. We recently learned that the Watching Wonders is being shifted in a digital edition only. We don't know yet what's going on in Basel or whatever is the new name. There is another one in Lausanne that was meant to happen at the same time in April in next spring. Basically we don't know what's going on in terms of exhibitions.
how do you feel about the virtual exhibition, the digital side of things, especially with product releases in mind? Do you prefer to? Obviously, it's nicer to see everyone and meet people every few months or every year. What's your point of view from a watchmaking perspective and releasing new products on the virtual thing?
Well, of course, I was enjoying the physical exhibition because that was a moment where everyone could share information, vision, feelings, especially with colleagues, press, market, aficionados. I especially agree with your director, with Rob, because he is one of the big fan of the physical exhibitions. So I feel like we're missing something with not having the opportunity to meet and discuss. The digital experience is going to help to reach the end customers in period like this one, where lockdown and limitation are physically limiting people movements, but of course it's not something we want to be used to.
Yeah, of course. I think we're all getting a bit desperate to get back and meet each other and
normal lives.
Exactly, and see the watches in the flesh as well, which is always exciting, especially new products and things that are coming out.
Yeah.
So just a bit of a roundup from yourself. Just give me an update on the brand's journey from your point of view and where you started to where you are today.
So can you say it again? Because I didn't get if you want to know about the brand. Or...
Sorry, yeah, from Meccaniche Veloci's point of view about your journey as a company and how things have evolved to where you are today.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a brief.
Yeah, just to make a bit of history about the brand. The brand is among the youngest brand on the market. It has been founded in Italy in 2006 in Milan, and it became immediately recognizable for the case shaped like a piston, and that became an icon worldwide. So we are not a mass or a mainstream brand, but we are renowned worldwide for the case that has a special and recognizable visual with the piston case and the 4 valves. Initially, the company was based in Italy, as I said, in Milan, and it was a good design with an average watchmaking content, because originally we were using ETA movements to power the 4 GMTs. When I took over the brand in 2015, I moved everything in Geneva. So now today we are based in Plan-le-Ouat, which is let's say the watchmaking district of Geneva. We are surrounded by all the know-how from almost a century of history, even more. In that particular moment, I decided to reposition the brand in a higher segment. And the first thing I did was to try to start developing an in-house movement, so a proprietary movement that was meant to replace the 4 separate ETAs. My idea was that Meccaniche Veloci is a niche brand, as I said, is not trying to look like any other brand in the market. And so it had to move in a higher segment in terms of quality and in terms of watchmaking. Moving to Switzerland allowed us to have access to a lot of know-how that before was not available where the company was based in Italy. So we did. Today, we only use our own 2 calibers. We have 2 calibers. We have the MV8880, which is the 3 GMTs and 1 tourbillon. And then we have the MV8802, which is the second revision of our first movement, the 4 GMTs. I can show you one, just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a base movement with an additional module. We're talking about an integrated movement. As you can see, also the visual, I mean, it's very particular, and it's very Meccaniche Veloci as well. That movement is entirely made out of short font. So since we replaced the ETA movement with our own caliber, we also decide to only make 100% Swiss made watches. That means that we can benefit from all the, all the outsourced supplier that we have in this area. Especially we work in the Geneva district, but we also work with La Chaux-de-Fonds for the movement.
How did that process work, that initial movement from the ETA movement to the in-house kind of thing? How was the process, and what sort of benefits have you seen since that?
Well, I mean, that was a paramount decision for me, because I think that we couldn't stay anymore in a market segment that was very crowded and was not significantly distinctive for us. I mean, we are, again, we have a very particular design, and we also wanted to stand out in terms of watchmaking. So, I mean, we felt like we were obliged to do that step, especially today that the market is high demanding, and making watches with, commodity movement is not anymore something that I want to do. The idea is that I wanted to have a product that was, very qualitative, and that couldn't have been done with the ETA movement, in my opinion.
And that was your decision, your paramount thing to do.
Sure.
When you moved in 2015.
When you're directly involved in what you do, you really want to do something that, first of all, you like. So I've been a watch aficionado since my teenage. And so I know that in the 80s, in the 90s, you could also do that. My first watch was one of the holy grail of the watch making. But at that time, in the 80s, you could still use ETA movement, and you could still sell quite valuable product without going too deep into developing something special for you. But since that time, the market has changed. People have access to information. Luckily, market has access to information. They know very well what is inside the watch, and they're looking for something special. So I felt like I had to offer something special on my watches.
You mentioned there your work with the Swiss suppliers, and I know you only work with Swiss suppliers. What sort of advantages does that give you and the customer as well?
You know that like the business model we have is something that is very traditional in the Swiss industry. It's called établissage, and that model allows you to select, let's say, the best supplier for you, for your need, for any component of your watch, and then you become like an assembler of the components provided by third parties. I particularly like this kind of model because that allows me to discuss individually for each component, to discuss individually with the supplier about the smallest details. So I'm Mr. Detail, so I'm very happy when I meet with, for example, for the strap, with the strap guy, with the buckle factory, and that we can discuss until the smallest of the details. So at the end, the final product is something that you really wanted to be like that, and is not, is not a mass product. We still can define ourselves in the craftsmanship industry. We don't do industrial products. We do few quantity every year, and we're proud of that, and we are proud of the way we work. At the end, it's a real partnership you have with your supplier, because they participate at the final product. They are all involved in the success of your product.
So when obviously the suppliers have that, they're invested in the brand from that point of view, because they're invested in the watches that they're going to be part of. What sort of knock-on effects does that have for the end customer when they,
well, they know. Well, the advantage for the end consumer is that they know they don't have an industrial product. They have a product that is close to something really artisanal. It's a craftsman product, and that is closer to the idea of luxury product that today is very diluted. For me, luxury is when something is not available in big quantities, when there is still a human being making and taking care of details. So it's a completely different perspective compared to big quantities or big productions. How
many quantities do you look at every year?
That's a golden question nobody wants to answer, right? No, we are below 1,000, so that gives you an idea of what is the diffusion of our product. Of course, the brand, you don't measure the let's say the awareness of the brand by the quantities, because among the independent watchmakers, you know very well that there are quite a lot of them that don't produce very big quantities, but they are very spread all around the world. That's the case of Meccaniche Veloci. Given its particular shape and its particular visual, it's a watch that you see once and then you never forget. We have a customer base all around the world. We have collectors in every corner of the world. But of course, we don't need to have huge quantities to raise our brand awareness. We prefer to do that through the rarity and the specialty of our timepieces.
Yeah, you mentioned there that customers all around the world. What is your sort of primary route to market, and how does that work?
Well, in terms of quantity and let's say, long-lasting partnership, we can say that Japan is the main market for Meccaniche Veloci. It's a market that we serve since the beginning, since the birth of the brand. We have a very loyal customer base. We love to work with the Japanese market because it's a very high demanding market in terms of quality. So that pushed us to raise, you know, the bar of our quality, and we are very happy about that. And then again, we serve directly every corner of the world. We have clients in Italy, in France, in UK, in the US, and whatever country you have in mind, we have a client over there.
What sort of specifically looking at the United Kingdom and the US? Can you talk a bit more about specifics there?
Yes, having served quite a few clients directly, we would be happy to open partnership in those countries, especially US and UK. In the UK, we are pleased to be working with the Devoy Group, which we recently signed an agreement. So they are in the market since 20 years. Andy Good is a very experienced professional in the industry.
Yeah.
So we're starting a partnership, an agent distribution with them. We also have a service center, which is called Charles Martin Watch Company in Utah. So we can benefit also of technical assistance in the UK. So my idea is to open new markets slowly, so that we can offer high quality service to the clients, and we're happy to start this collaboration in the UK as for December of this year.
Right, next month then, yeah?
Yeah.
Sort of going back to product type things, I know the Nardi edition and the Damascus were a success for you.
Yeah.
So how do these watches, or how the success of those watches are going to help you move forward into any products next year and so on?
Yeah, the Nardi edition and the Damascus, yes, they were the two limited edition. The first one being in 20 pieces only, and the second one we only make 10 watches per year, and they are exactly going in the direction I want to give to the brand. Let's take Nardi for example. Nardi is it's the more classic watch that Meccaniche Veloci ever made. We wanted to benefit from the Italian heritage in the automotive industry that we proudly represent. Nardi, Mr. Enrico Nardi was you know, today his heritage is the wooden steering wheel that we all know for having been the steering wheel of the Ferrari in the 50s and the 60s. But he was much more than that. He was a real petrolhead. He was a guy that was, you know, pimping cars. He was a pilot. He has been also the general manager of Ferrari in the 60s for a few years. So he really represents the Italian heritage and passion in the automotive industry. So that was a novelty for Meccaniche Veloci, because we usually make quite, you know, contemporary watches, but we were happy to go back to the roots or to the origin of the Italian heritage also in the aesthetical code. We put mahogany, we used a special guillochage on the dial. So we're going in that direction because we want to introduce also more classical watches next to the contemporary collection. And Damascus as well, it's really the triumph of craftsmanship. Damascus is a special edition that we make in only 10 pieces per year. Why? Because we commission the raw material to an artisan in Italy. He's making the raw billet, and then he sends that to Switzerland. We machine the case. We don't know how the case will look like, because every piece is different from the other one. So again, we want to shrink the quantity of watches we make, but we want to make them better.
So just on that, and a sort of final question from me, from a product, not just a product, but also from a business perspective, with you know, virtual trade shows in mind, and so on. What plans do you have for the next year and sort of coming out of the pandemic, out the other side?
Yeah. Well, I will use the new product that I'm developing to give you the path of Meccaniche Veloci for the next years. We are working on a new model with a reduced case size. That is to allow, people that sometimes they are, they have a resistance, so they are reluctant to accept a big watch and a bold watch like our collection is today. We want to go in a more classic design without, of course, betraying any of the DNA of Meccaniche Veloci. And that comes from market. We know there is a demand for smaller watches. We want to a lot of clients, and a lot of our clients, they love our watches, and they would like to have a smaller one. So we're going in that direction. And the second pillar of the new product is, of course, to have even more watchmaking content. So with no doubt, we are going to develop a new caliber for that, starting from scratch. We will benefit of the knowledge that we can have access in Switzerland. But we will go even further in developing something special and something that respects and is in line with the Swiss tradition in the watchmaking.
Well, certainly sounds like an exciting year ahead for you all, and I'm sure our really
that was supposed to be that this year, 2020, but we have a bit more time to do that next year, within the next year.
Yeah, it's the same for us, and I think the same for everyone we speak to. Everybody had plans and they're just on hold for a few months. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, 2021 will be a year to bounce back for everyone. It'll be quite exciting.
And we can possibly see each other again in person.
I think so. I think that's the best way, and less of the Zooms and the virtual thing.
Well, that's very practical. It can shorten distance and make happen things quickly. But of course, if you have to share the passion you put in a product and why a product is done like it's done, there is nothing better like a physical presence to express, the DNA of your product and of your brand. Yeah,
couldn't agree more. But yeah, thanks again for joining us, and
thank you, Alex.
Hopefully we'll see you shortly.
Okay, speak soon. Good luck. Bye bye.